Hey, what's up? This is Zach here at the Genzio Media House, Dubai, with Roger from dFusion. How are you doing this morning?
Good. How you doing? Great. Thanks for having me.
Epic, man. Absolutely had a crazy week, honestly, here in Dubai between the storms and everything else, but it's a beautiful day here, so can't complain. So before we kind of dive into anything, could you maybe tell us a little bit about who you are and the company you're building at dFusion?
Yeah, no, definitely. My name's Roger Yang. I'm a bit of a global citizen. I'm a Taiwanese South African, studied in the US, managed somehow to get a master's from Stanford, 10 years in China, spent in fintech. I started an insurtech business, and then we pivoted that into doing crypto investigations. And
Oh, wow.
And going into crypto investigations, we realized what a huge discrepancy of information between virtual asset service providers as well as the retail has. And we thought, how do we kind of democratize truth? How can we basically level the playing field in terms of information discrepancy between the guys in ivory towers or the crypto bros or etc. and the retail? And that ultimately, we built an AI called CryptoLock focused on Web3 security. And in building this small expert model, just focus on crypto security, which means prevention, detection, and recovery, we thought, how can we pour fuel on the fire and turn this into a protocol to create networked community sources of truth across different niches? And we're coming out of stealth, and so dFusion is really a protocol on how to create sources of truth, network sources of truth, as well as tools that can also be provided to the community. So there's a lot of enterprise data, a lot of enterprise tools, very proprietary, very expensive for the average Joe. And how can we kind of level this playing field, right? We can't, I believe in Web3, we can't go into a next generation where it becomes like another 80-20 rule, right? We need to kind of somehow level this playing field. And a lot of this is, information is power. I hate to say, cliched, but
it's true. I mean, Mark Zuckerberg is one of the richest people in the world selling data.
Exactly.
That's really interesting. So, because I worked at an exchange, so I have a pretty good idea of kind of what you're talking about. Can you maybe break it down, like what you mean by the levels of data that, like, maybe, and I might be assuming here, but if I'm understanding, like maybe a retail trader or kind of like a person who's learning the industry versus more of an enterprise. What is the discrepancy there, like in types of data?
There's tons, but like for basic examples, for example, sentiment analysis, right? A lot of the top crypto hedge funds are mainly using swing trading models based on sentiment data, where they're actually buying a lot of data from people analyzing whether it's Twitter, or etc. Types of data sets on different types of projects. And yes, they're building them proprietary, but that also gives them a huge advantage to the market in terms of when to buy and when to sell. That's one. Blockchain data in terms of riskiness of wallets, who you're transacting with. Is a smart contract safe? X, Y, and Z. There's different levels of this in terms of on-chain as well as off-chain, analyzing on-chain data. But those are some basic examples. Another, off-the-cuff type of situation we face is we've worked with an exchange where the CTO was in collusion and, basically worked with Russian hackers to hack $2.5 million. And it went through Tornado Cash, and the CTO actually convinced the CEO that you can't trace through Tornado Cash, which is, 5 years ago, yes, maybe, but today, that's a common network truth among the investigations community, such as the chain analysis TRMs of the world, that you can actually go through it. It just takes the time. So that's something where could have been completely avoidable, right? And we found just in different niche pockets of Web3, there's always something that, if the wider community just knew, things like that. Yeah.
Well, that's super interesting. Can we talk more about that Russian hacking story? How did that happen?
Yeah. I mean, I can't divulge too much, but
Okay.
but the overall gist is like the CTO basically controlled the whole stack of the exchange. The CEO was boarding a flight. During the flight, the network went down. When he landed, the network went up. $2.5 million was gone. And then the CTO had great relation with the CEO, managed to persuade the CEO that, hey, like everything is Wasn't my fault. Somehow they got in through the thing, etc., etc. The money's gone to Tornado Cash. It's impossible to go through Tornado Cash, and X, Y, and Z. One month later, CTO was left the company, and a year later, we came back to do a forensic investigations on that, and we found some sort of connection there, basically, but not too late.
How often does this kind of thing happen in crypto?
Oh, all the time. There's always collusion.
Can you give an estimate on like the amount of money that's stolen or lost every year because of something like this?
Oh, in terms of collusion, I can't give you an estimate, but like it's each year's. I mean, crypto crime is increasing 30% year on year. That's just on the dollar amounts, but in terms of the number of instances, between 200 to 300%, right? So the frequency is increasing. The amounts are, depending on the price action, is kind of different. But yeah, overall, as we go into a bull market, this is like prime time for hackers as well. Yeah.
What do you think is like the number one sort of data point that makes a difference for people? Like what is the number one thing people ask you? Like what I need to learn this like data set or understand it? What is like the number one demand, I guess you see?
Well, so it kind of started from a very basic question I pose back to people. It's like, what do you do when you lose your crypto? Right?
Cry.
That's exactly the number one answer. How did you know, right? And so if you think about that, that's also like a network truth that people just don't know what to do, right? And of course, the blockchain is fully transparent. There's so Etherscan, etc. It can be traced. It can, etc. But people don't know about legislation, laws, and things that are catching up that you can actually freeze money at exchanges, get court injunctions to go after that. So that became the genesis of what CryptoLock is. And I was just so tired of repeating myself to folks over and over again. I thought, let's put this all into an AI and let's try to make these tools available to everybody, right? Where, we've got an API now that we can like hit the API. You can give a wallet address and it'll follow the largest flow of funds to a crypto to fiat off ramp.
Wow.
Which in an investigations, if you're trying to recover crypto, is super
number one.
It's like the number one thing, right? I mean,
where did the money go?
Where did the money go, right? And if it's gone to a legal entity, which we know of, there's legislation that can help you. So just imagine, like, before this conversation, right? you're gonna cry, but after this conversation, at least you have a chance. You have an active chance to actually do something about it, right?
This is crazy.
And so, we thought, okay, why don't we take this formula of doing this and turn this into a protocol where people can create. If you also think of AI, right? AI has huge, enormous potential, right? To sound cliched, but also we're letting both the floodgates of the good as well as the bad, right? So for GPT, deepfakes, things like that, we're thinking about this problem as humanity in like 5 to 10 years is going to lose their frame of reference. What is real, what is not. I mean, we're already losing our frame of reference. You're from the US, there's Fox News, there's CNN. You almost have to watch two sides to get like, okay, what's the middle ground story?
I just go on Twitter. Nothing.
Yeah, exactly. And then who are these guys on Twitter, right? So how can we create like a network source of truth, right? And so, what's pretty awesome is so much is happening in decentralized AI. And so we're focusing on the governance of the data sets and the knowledge model that's going into an AI, basically.
This is absolutely brilliant. What it reminds me of is like when they discovered like DNA or something and they were able to solve all these crimes. It's like utilizing AI, people could go back and figure out like what happened to their money even years later and try and get some of it back.
No, right. Yeah.
Do you think? Yeah, go ahead.
No, and with legislation, this could happen too, right? So sometimes people just want to do like an investigation of what happened like a year ago or 2 years ago. Yeah.
Where do you see this like kind of coming up like the most? Like, is it people who get like fished, like phishing scams? Is it like how do you see people's wallets getting drained?
Oh yeah, so I mean, I'd say for VASPs, for virtual asset service providers or crypto companies, usually always internal fraud.
Internal fraud.
Internal fraud. Yeah.
Wow, that's really interesting.
If you think about any crypto company, the CTO controls the business, right? And so,
that's,
for example, we have you'll love this case. Crypto custodian hacked for over $15 million. And the hacker had to have inside knowledge on how to navigate through all the different IBM mainframes and things like that. Like, it would be statistically impossible to understand what techniques to use at different points. And so, but then what's even better about this story is that they actually had crypto insurance, which would, claim up to 5 million of the 15. But crypto insurance, because it's based on the insurance world, still based on the traditional finance kind of legislature, the crypto insurer basically said, you need to give me the 2 names for collusion in the hacking to claim. And so, this is like, a whole new paradigm of what's happening in crypto, where traditional finance has not really like caught up to the actual realities of the world. But there's also, in terms of social engineering, it's huge, massive, clicking on the wrong link. Pig butchering's massive.
What is that?
Pig butchering is a lot of sextortionists, or dudes meet chicks or guys who are posing as chicks on Tinder, and suddenly, make a crypto investment, invest in this exchange, you get 200% return, or like withdraw money out of the exchange. Oh, you need tax clearance, pay us another 300,000. We have had one big case, very sad, and it's very smart people. One guy runs like a chain of 50 businesses in the US, put $10 million into a fake exchange. And it's just social engineering and greed. So, what I try to say is, in terms of the data, if you had just scanned a wallet, if you had just scanned a smart contract, like you sent $1, 50 cents to scan that smart contract, would have saved them $10 million. And a world of hurt.
How would it have saved him?
Because he would have seen that this wallet's linked to, tagged as being linked to crypto crime.
And it will tell you that? It will have like a little tag and say, this is linked to crime.
Yeah, exactly. The riskiness of this wallet is low, medium, high. And then if you want to go deeper and go down that road, you can we've got the tools available to do that. So, this is just Web3 security, right? And we've come across this just in Web3 security. We've also worked with insurers before and stuff like that. And we kind of like, once you know how insurance works, you also like see a huge terms of information discrepancy. And so, dFusion is really about creating like democratized, community-driven, networked sources of truth that at least there's a frame of reference for what we're talking about. But whether we're talking about crypto crime, throw it through the AI, and you can actually see, okay, there's a frame of reference. This is not what your buddy told you, or a hacker told you, or a guy colluding against you told you, right? This is something that the community has kind of... It's like, imagine if Reddit or Wikipedia had, network economic incentives, and that information was readily available in a small expert model and an AI. That's what dFusion is about creating.
That's really cool. And honestly, like one of my good friends, if you're watching this, Loudmouth, he's an influencer in Web3. He just got hacked.
Yeah.
2 weeks ago. He's a really smart guy. He clicked on a fake wormhole airdrop, lost all of it, and then the hacker contacted him, and they were like, I'm a fellow Bored Ape, just some random guy, because he had Bored Ape, and he's like, give me your seed phrase, and I can get you all your assets back.
Gone, right?
Drained.
Playing the game, yeah. We've even had friends, the hackers posed as a law firm trying to help the dude. Another 20, 50 grand. Yeah, it's quite sad.
It's quite crazy. Where do most of these hackers come from? Is it all over the world? Is there a specific region?
All over, a lot of concentration in China, in Cambodia, North Korea, Russian hackers, but all over. It could be, like there's different pockets of guys, right? And so, again, clicking on a wormhole link, scan the link before you transact, right? Just scan the domain address before you do anything. Yeah, so we have some awesome, cool features coming out on CryptoLock too, where we have all those tools available. We're just gonna try orchestrate that into like a really nice UX, basically.
Awesome. Yeah, that kind of gets me to my next question. Like, where are you in product development right now?
Yeah, CryptoLock's in beta. We've managed and been involved in close to $80 million worth of lost crypto recovery cases.
That's awesome.
Yeah, and actually this week we had a pretty cool one where one of our investigations partners tracked Chinese hackers and putting pressure on the Chinese hackers who've also hacked another crypto business for $500,000. And so now we're trying to get in contact with that business to say, hey, we can ask you $500,000 that you never thought would have been returned, right? So there's some cool stories like that. And the AI is in beta. We have close to 50 partners already. We're building a whole map of, as you can imagine in the investigations business, whether you're in Brazil, Asia, Africa, US, you need different folks to help you. So we're building a graph of that. And again, this is all about what we found with CryptoLock is the business is really backed by us. Imagine if what we're doing for CryptoLock can be just driven by the community, people who are staking, who have a vested interest to basically grow this, right? And
makes crypto way safer.
And that's what dFusion is about, right? So, and I say to folks, it's like, I grew up in South Africa, right? And so crime is terrible. And when the crime is terrible, who's the wealthiest dudes? Love the mafia, right? And so you can't have wealth without security, right? For the next generation, for sustainable wealth at least, right? Let's have security basically and sources of truth that everyone can come to a common ground and say, okay, this is agreed types of facts, this is opinion, this is being contested. So
getting kind of into I guess where you want to see this going, and I think you just kind of touched on it slightly. Do you see other competitors or other people kind of trying to do the same thing, or are you kind of like a first mover in this space?
For CryptoLock or dFusion?
dFusion.
Yeah, so it's been interesting. I think there's a lot of confusion of what we're actually doing, and I think we're novel. A lot of folks are creating the decentralized stack when it comes to hardware, distributed software, distributed GPUs, etc. But where we feel is that's amazing, because we also want this to be an unstoppable dApp, right? We want to put this to make it as decentralized as possible. We're focusing on the knowledge, on the governance of the knowledge set. That's ultimately driving these AIs and LLMs basically. And if you think about it, think of a water tank. The more you fill a water tank with water and oil or whatever, the more it gets diluted, right? So you want to get a concentration for different types of topics where the model doesn't break down, there's no model collapse, hallucinations, and things like that, right? So I mean, what's interesting is trying to someone at OpenAI, and they're like, dude, they don't even know what ChatGPT is going to say sometimes, right? The model set's so big, right? So, that's something that we find super interesting about the technology.
I definitely find it interesting as well. I guess we're here in Token 2049, so kind of bringing it back to Dubai. How has the event been for you? What was kind of the goal to come to Token this year?
Yeah, no, definitely. So definitely meeting some investors, partners, getting in touch with different folks on the decentralized AI stack. Just getting to feel the community of where they're at, how they're thinking about AI. It's been amazing. I mean, it's really chock-a-block busy. It's a bit post-apocalyptic with the floods and the rain and storms and stuff, but it's been awesome. Yeah.
Awesome. Well, you heard it here first. Make sure and follow dFusion on X. Stay tuned for more, and I'm definitely going to be checking out the beta because this is absolutely epic, and sending it to Loudmouth, who just got hacked. So hopefully, Loudmouth, you can use dFusion to at least figure out what happens. And honestly, thank you for what you're doing, because you're making crypto safer.
Thanks, Wes. Yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Sure.
Nice having you.
Yeah, thank you.